Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a phenomenon that literally turns a classic childhood trope into an absolute nightmare. Today, we are tracking the highly alarming and very well-documented trend of creepy clown sightings and stalkings. We'll be looking at the specific patterns of how these events actually unfold in real life, and more importantly, how they escalate. So, settle in, because what we are about to unpack here is truly chilling.
If you've seen the news lately, there have been many reports of clowns luring children into the forest. We are pulling that exact quote directly from one of our primary sources today, and honestly, it perfectly frames our entire analysis. We're going to examine 3 first-hand, verified accounts that demonstrate a terrifying and highly structured escalation in this whole trend. Make no mistake, these aren't just random, goofy pranks. There is a distinct, predatory methodology at work here.
Let's start with Case Study 1, the Forest Preserve Carnival. Okay, let's dive into this first incident. It involves a 12-year-old kid who is visiting a local mini-carnival set up inside a dense forest preserve. And the spatial progression here is absolutely key to understanding the predator's strategy. So first, over at the circus tent, a dancing clown spots the child and just waves a single index finger to lure them closer. Thankfully, the kid smartly walks away. But step 2 happens at the park fence. The child hears a voice, and yep, it's the exact same clown, asking if they want to go see the backstage area. The child declines again and heads into the woods to go home, which leads us to step 3, deep within an isolated half-mile stretch of forest. Then I heard it again. Just imagine that for a second. You are 3/4 of the way through a pitch-black forest preserve. The kid turns around, shines their flashlight right into the oppressive darkness, and boom, there's the clown, walking totally silently out of the woods and directly into the beam of that flashlight. You can imagine the sheer panic that sets in. The kid physically throws their flashlight at the clown and just breaks into a dead sprint toward the road, literally listening to the clown's footsteps pounding right behind them until they finally reach the safety of the streetlights.
Moving on to Case Study 2, the Quiet Tuesday Neighborhood.
Now that first account is terrifying, for sure, but it does happen near a carnival, which is a place you might logically expect a clown to be hanging around, right? Our second story marks a severe escalation, because the threat moves from an isolated forest directly to a suburban front door. The narrator and a friend named B were walking to a fair in an empty parking lot on a really cold November night. They bump into this silent, mime-like clown. He doesn't say a word, but he just inches his way closer and closer to the teenagers. As they hurry away, the narrator tries to brush it off as weird, but B correctly identifies the psychological shift here, saying, "That was more creepy than weird." They immediately recognize this shift from a performance to actual stalking. So, as these 2 teens are walking back on the totally empty sidewalks of their neighborhood, absolute silence surrounds them. And then, the silence is broken. They realize it was a pair of footsteps following them in the dark. They whip their heads back and see no one, but the footsteps just keep continuing for minutes. The stalker has successfully tracked them from a public parking lot all the way into their own seemingly safe residential neighborhood. So the crucial point is the utter vulnerability of the next few moments. The teens finally make it to the front door of the narrator's house. But the narrator has 3 different keys on his keychain. In the pitch black, knowing there's an invisible stalker right behind them, he begins panicking, just blindly trying to find the one correct key out of the 3 to unlock the door. The adrenaline and fear in that moment are completely paralyzing. While he's literally fumbling with these keys, B nudges him to turn around, and the chilling realization hits them like a ton of bricks. He was in the bushes. That silent mime clown had followed them the entire way and was just crouching in the next-door neighbor's bushes, staring at them. When the clown realizes he's been spotted, he actually steps out and starts walking up the driveway. The teens barely manage to unlock the door and slam it shut in time. But you guys, when they run upstairs to look out the window, the clown is simply standing right there in their driveway, staring up at their exact bedroom window, just waiting. Which brings us to Case Study 3, the Lumberyard Chase. This final case study is undoubtedly the most dangerous escalation of this entire phenomenon. It involves a 14-year-old walking home from a summer job at a local lumberyard. Now, to put this into perspective, this town has a total population of just 130 people. It is very isolated, rural South Carolina. The teenager's walk is exactly 1 mile down a skinny little road with 0 shoulder, completely surrounded by dense vegetation where crickets and frogs sound like a massive orchestra. There are no other houses for miles. This setup is the ultimate trap for a predator. Let's walk through this timeline, because you can see how this systematically builds. The warning signs are intentionally laid out over 24 hours. At 9:30 p.m. on the first night,
The teen hears this high-pitched cackling laugh that cuts right through the music in their earbuds. They stop dead in the tracks but hear only frogs. The very next day, at 1:30 p.m., they kick a rock on the pavement and find a bright red squeaking clown nose just laying right there in the dirt. Then, at 9:30 p.m. that same evening, the trap is sprung. Walking home, without earbuds this time, the teen spots a faint figure standing in the heavy fog about 150 yards away.
And this brilliantly illustrates the horrifying shift from the mundane to the macabre. The teen's expectation? Oh, the outline in the fog just looks like a spooked deer that scampers back into the woods. But the reality? As the teen walks past the exact spot where that deer vanished, they hear footsteps right behind them. They turn around to find a sadistic clown standing right in the middle of the road. His baggy costume is so filthy the colors literally fade into stains, his makeup is running down his face, and his eyes are pitch black.
The clown tilts his head and speaks. "You have something of mine. I need it back." I mean, just let that sink in. The clown had intentionally placed that red nose on the road earlier that day, knowing the teen walked that exact path. It was bait. And now, this predator is standing just 20 yards away on a completely empty country road, demanding it back with a small, terrifying laugh.
The teen stammers, obviously, saying they don't have anything of his, and begins backing away. And this brings us to the ultimate terrifying escalation. The clown replies, "Well then if you don't have my nose, I'm gonna need yours." At that exact moment, the clown pulls something out from behind his back. The narrator clearly identifies it as looking exactly like a machete. The stalking has officially turned into an armed pursuit.
The teenager turns and just sprints down the middle of the road with burning lungs. The auditory terror of this chase is genuinely sickening. Just imagine hearing the sound of bare feet slapping rapidly against fresh asphalt, mixed with the metallic scraping of two machete blades dragging along the ground behind him, and over it all, a continuous, feeding giggle getting closer and closer. It is pure nightmare fuel. They are saved only by the absolute miracle of a passing truck cresting the hill, which caused the clown to instantly vanish back into the woods.
Section 4. A cult of clowns?
By examining all three of these first-hand accounts together, we're really forced to look at a much broader threat. We aren't just looking at isolated, silly pranks anymore. We are looking at calculated, unexplainable phenomena. From luring kids into deep forests, to hiding silently in suburban bushes, to stalking an isolated rural road with actual weapons. But perhaps the most unnerving detail of all is the logistics. In that rural South Carolina case, there were absolutely no vehicles parked anywhere nearby, and literally no houses for miles. So how did this individual even get there? Where did they retreat to? It points to a highly disturbing level of coordination.
The final narrator actually asks if this is a cult, a group with a unified goal to terrify, or perhaps something even worse. As we wrap up this explainer, we really have to look at the undeniable escalation of these tactics. They know the routes, they lay bait, and they wait in the dark. It leaves us with one deeply unsettling question to ponder the next time you find yourself having to walk home alone. Are you truly safe on your own dark roads? Thank you so much for joining me for this analysis. Stay safe and stay vigilant.